Glenn Beck exposes, look out, ladies, the cult-like tactics used by the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party. You mean the Democratic Party? Or the Democrats? You prick. But, and also, don't be a wuss, man. Cult-like. Just say cult, you wiener. Or were you going to say cult tactics, but like Trump went, no, we do cult tactics. They're cult light.
Today, I just said a couple of minutes ago before we went on the national broadcast.
Before you turned the cameras on? Why? Sorry, we're just going to hold on that, Glenn. Nice. Good job. That's great. You know, really dig in there, buddy. You know, most of us would take, I don't know, go like this or, dab, something like that. Why do that when you can get up in there and you can do a fucking, just grind it out of there. Just whatever it is, you'll break it loose.
That there are some things that
in your nose
that I have had on my mind for 20 years.
And you're just now getting around to them. Obviously, that concerns me, Glenn, because I don't know how else to put this, but your brain is not what I would call load bearing.
Things that I hoped that I would never have to say to you.
Okay, now I'm really worried. Did you really just think about these things and like, I hope look, I'm not going to take any of this shit seriously, but can I please, have any of you had a moment in your life where you're like, I keep having these thoughts, and I certainly hope the day never comes where I have to say them out loud to my fellow citizens. Meanwhile, especially for a dude who's like got verbal diarrhea for a living.
But
too late.
Today just very well may be that day.
Well, it might. It might very well, but get to it.
Some really important things that are happening around the world.
What? Starting when? You're obviously talking about the Coldplay tickets issue.
For instance, the UN is voting in all of these really
something you're allergic to?
Draconian laws.
The UN is voting in draconian laws. You mean all those laws in the UN that are optional in participation? One of those draconian laws wouldn't be if you declare war on a sovereign country and attack them without warning, like Russia did. You can't sit on the Security Council. You mean draconian? You mean the kind of draconian laws where every country can go, nah.
This week, and we're going to get into that next.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Next hour, it is the formation of one global government.
Uh-huh. Here you go. FEMA coffins, here they come.
And we're all for it. Did you know that? That's happening right now.
I don't know. He touched his nose when he said that. I'm going to go with he's lying.
Today, we'll talk about it coming up in...
What good is talking? They voted it in, Glenn. It's too late. You had 20 years to warn us, and you fucking did nothing. Glenn, you should have told... You didn't warn us. Why didn't you warn us, Glenn? Now what? They voted him in today, Glenn. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Note to self, I need a descending echo effect in future for moments like that can turn on and off with a single switch. Thank you.
In just a second.
A second, 20 years, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. Glenn, it's too late. Too late. Too late for love. All right.
We're not talking to each other.
No, we're not. We're watching you fucking dig for boogers in your nose, you cretin. I can't do it. I can't do it. This has got to be one of these cult-like tactics he's talking about. I don't know.
I think every day of my friend.
Of maybe eating better and getting some exercise so that your nostrils aren't full of mucus and you clearly are developing sleeping issues that are causing bloating. Dude, fuck me.
And some of my family members who are living in a dream.
Oh, you mean the ones that don't have to talk to you all the time? Yes, they do. They greet each other at home. Like they walk in and go, did Glenn call today? Nope. Living the dream.
They just, they hate Donald Trump so much, they just can't get past it.
Past what? The rape? The theft? The myth? The bigotry? I mean, you know what? Fuck me. All of it. It's a big, grotesque Trump soup.
And they think that, I'm delusional.
Well, I never thought I would ever say this, but I don't doubt that I have some viewers who are in Glenn Beck's extended family, and I would like to welcome them to the show. You don't have to tell them you watch, and it'll be our little secret. It's totally fine. And understand that even when I call him the pejoratives that I call him, I'm not dehumanizing him. Again, I happen to think that human beings can be assholes and dickheads and fools and shit gibbons and all that kind of stuff. And so, those are all, they're certainly pejoratives, but they are said with comedy love. Really? Your family thinks you're delusional, Glenn? Does it come up while you're driving through the Sonic drive-thru where you're like, it's healthy?
I know you have this in your family. You got to...
That is my family, dummy. My entire family thinks you're delusional.
Remember, in my family, I'm the stinky brother. I was the youngest, so...
Well, at least you can't smell it.
What does Glenn know?
How to milk preppers of their last nickel?
Nobody in my family is impressed by me, so...
Well, they have, in their defense, they've spent more time with you than anyone else.
Good thing, too. It keeps you humble. But it's hard. It's hard because I know what I know.
Do you, though?
How do you talk to people? Why can't they see the things that you see?
Maybe because they're not there. Glenn, you might be onto something. Maybe no one can see it because it's a myth. Because it's a delusion on your part.
How come they can't see? This isn't...
Well, tell me what... here's a good idea, fuckwad. Pick one thing. How come they can't see this? And I'll explain to you how that, whatever it is not there. And they can't see it, not because it's invisible, because that gives the illusion that it could exist like bacteria or oxygen. You just can't see it. This does not exist. Whatever you're talking about, which is why you're not talking about it, if you bring it, well, maybe, in all fairness, I have not pre-watched this. Maybe he gives an example. I doubt it.
It's about Donald Trump. It's not about...
Yeah, it is.
Donald Trump. It is...
Then why couldn't the Republicans elect someone else? Why can't anyone else? What? He lost last time, fuckhead, and they still couldn't get somebody in through the primaries. If it's not about him, why did he run away with it? I mean, he lost 40% of the primary vote to Nikki Haley even after she dropped out because a lot of Republicans apparently aren't delusional like you are.
It's truly about freedom.
Oh, okay. Cool story, bro. It's about, guys, it's about freedom. Obviously not for women,
But they are being told that Donald Trump is the biggest obstacle, the biggest danger to freedom in the republic.
I'll just go with obstacle. Yeah. Danger, no. He's not dangerous anymore. He's kind of fading, but he's definitely, I mean, in any circumstance, something you have to go around.
And I think in some ways, COVID-19 broke us. I mean, this has been happening for a while, but COVID-19 broke us. People who were once reasonable began to call for the banishment of the unvaccinated from civil society.
Really? The people in your family? The banishment of the unvaccinated from civil society? Well, I think largely while we're trying to get a grip on a pandemic, that can happen. I mean, right now, if there's a measles outbreak, it's because of fuckheads like you and your friends, and kids can die from it. So, it's kind of a moral issue. But we have not set up an M. Night Shyamalan system or fucking catapults to jettison the unvaccinated and banish them. And if you'll notice, Joe Biden's been in power for years, and it hasn't happened. And one thing, like people calling for it in the middle of a pandemic, for people who refuse to get vaccinated and are part of the problem, you can see why people would react emotionally to that, I think. But it seems more like you guys are just sensitive to realizing you're a drag on the fucking populace.
It was truly remarkable what happened to us.
What happened to us, Glenn? What happened? Something akin to AIDS and condoms for a while? What happened? Do we have to go everybody? Do we need a vaccine fucking passport to go into a grocery store? Did we all get the mark of the beast? Have we all been fucking chipped? Trump's been vaccinated twice, and he took the monoclonal antibodies, which are made by the same pharmaceutical companies. Here's a good idea, shithead. What if, follow me on this, you'll like this one. This is right up your alley. What if they didn't chip the vaccines, they chipped the monoclonal antibodies and every available dose of ivermectin out there, so because they feel like they don't have to track the people who get vaccinated because those people want to participate in functioning society. The only people you would have to track are the fuckheads that refuse to get it, and we might need to know where they are because it's the Illuminati. Maybe. How about that? How about that? I mean, that sounds like a pretty good plan, right? Or what about there's a chip in all of it, fuckhead? There's not a chip in any of it. But if there was a chip in the vaccine, why the fuck wouldn't they put the exact same shit in the monoclonal antibodies, dum-dum? So, if they're like, oh, God, the freedom-loving maggots are getting away. No, they're not. We'll put it in Ozempic. We'll put it in, like, are you nuts? Like, why? If you can put it in one thing and they can't trace it, why didn't you put it in everything? Stupid. Glenn, it's in the shakes at Sonic. Dun, dun, dun. All right.
People were saying...
By the way, that got dangerously close to Captain Chaos from the Cannonball Run. Dun, dun, dun.
We should be sent to jail if you didn't get vaccinated.
Well, not just for not getting vaccinated, but for like if you intentionally like coughed all over people and gave it to them and they died. I mean, that would be, remember all the people you talk about who like knew they were HIV positive and infected other people, and some of them died, and they're like, these people should they're murderers, right? He was on the side of that.
Some people said we shouldn't get medical care, doctors, nurses.
Well, you kind of opted out of, like, if there's limited number of ventilators, let's say, and the people who are like, fuck it, I don't need a vaccine, who need a ventilator all of a sudden, wouldn't you argue ethically they have to stand in line behind the people who got vaccinated but are just because of immune issues or other stuff, or, it affected them worse?
Said they wouldn't treat people
And no one went without treatment. Not a single person. Nobody. Glenn, nobody. Find me one. Find me a maggot someplace that showed up at the hospital and couldn't get treated. And also, where'd you hear this? Third-hand right-winger going, I heard a friend who said a doctor told him that if they came in there, they wouldn't even do it because he saw this clip on MSNBC where James Carville was saying they shouldn't even get treatment. And they were like, yeah, Dr. Carville said I'm not allowed. Like, fuck off.
You let people with cancer die.
No, they didn't.
Death was divided by vaccine status.
No, it was not.
And treated accordingly.
No, it was not.
Information was censored, quote, for our own good.
Well, I mean, look, I think it's for our own good that child porn is not readily available on the internet for free. Glenn disagrees. He doesn't believe that the government should intervene in situations just because they think it's for our own good. Okay? And that's where Glenn and I will always disagree. I am anti-child porn and certainly anti-free availability of it. And Glenn is 100% for free child porn on the internet. Just saying. According to him, right now. Because, you know, I and the people I vote for think it's in our best interests if child porn isn't available, and Glenn thinks that's not reason enough to stop it. It's already been filmed. The child is not harmed again. They're probably in a shallow grave somewhere, right, Glenn? So who cares? Who cares? You're just watching it, and that's freedom, right, Glenn?
Anyone who questioned the leader or fell out of line was deemed as dangerous or literally accused of killing people.
Well, if you're responsible for the death of another and you do it brazenly, you are. I mean, we have variations of it. We have manslaughter and we have, depraved indifference. And we have first and second degree murder, right? Also, no, I feel like he's reading a page from 1984 again and acting like this is really happening right now.
Stephen Hassan developed the B.I.T.E, B-I-T-E model.
Yummy.
By, among other things, studying the brainwashing that happened in Maoist China.
And in Waco and in Joel Osteen's church and in MAGA.
B.I.T.E, B-I-T-E stands for behavior, information, thought, and emotional control.
So BITEC. Sorry. Wouldn't that be emotional control is 2 words? Unless it's hyphenated, which it isn't. Bite? That's what he came up. It's BITEC. That's BITEC. But yeah, BITEC.
B.I.T.E.
BITEC. It's BITEC. Just saying. It's BITEC. By the way, how is this different from how the B in BITE should be for fucking Blaze at this point? How is this different from your fucking show, dummy?
And it identifies the patterns used by cults or communists
or maggots
to manipulate.
I don't know why it's or communists. Like that's how we divide them. Mind control in the world is 2 major groups: cults and communists. You know, what about self-help gurus? And don't leave Rusty Trombone out of this.
Their members. This is the same things that the Germans did, the Nazis did.
Yeah, it totally is, but with better clothing, I must admit. We are very well dressed compared to this tea and bone nonsense. It's just cut your balls off and put it in your shoes and wait for the spaceship behind the comet. It's all very interesting, but the outfits were terrible. You need sharp, pointy shoulders and very smart belts.
Now, there are 50 attributes to watch.
Oh, my God. I don't have time for this shit. 50? Dude, I gotta tell you, it sounds like this BITEC book he's writing. He's just trying to pad out the pages. 50. Just give me the top 5, asshole.
For But I want you to listen to this. I don't know.
I don't know. You're starting to sound like a cult leader directing people to scripture.
I don't know if I'm going to have time to go through all 50, but I'm going to
Probably not.
hit many of them quickly. But I want you to listen to this and compare them to your experience during the COVID-19 pandemic and right now.
Okay, glad to do it. Let's do it. Here we go. This is what we went through in COVID during the pandemic and what's happening right now versus then and this thing. Cool. All right.
Here's what a cult does to its people to indoctrinate them.
Is there robes and spankings involved?
Dictate where, how, and with whom the member lives and associates, or
No. Well, the fact that we had to stay home during that time, they didn't give a fuck where you sheltered. If you were if you were cohabitating with a relative, you moved back home with your parents who liked Trump. They didn't give a fuck. No one was controlled on where or who they could share a household with, even during lockdown, which didn't happen.
or isolates from.
Also, no. No, they didn't pick who you isolated from. It was a generalized distancing from everybody because of a contagious disease. And it wasn't like, all right, black people all in the house, white people all in the house, Asian people over here, and then all right, by political group, all right, economic separation. That's what a cult does, dummy. They make sure you can't talk to anybody else. Sorry, was there a filter on fucking Zoom that kept you from talking to your dickhead Glenn Beck relative?
Financial exploitation, manipulation, or dependence.
Oh, I see. The bailouts were the government putting us in a government cult instead of just trying to salvage the economy from a pandemic. Oh, by the way, the payouts that Trump signed off on and increased the debt by 1/3.
Restrict leisure, entertainment, and vacation time.
But I got to tell you, that sounds like the Project 2025 plan for the elimination of unions. Vacation time? Yeah, I felt like most of you, hey, who felt their vacation time during COVID was limited?
Permission is required for major decisions. Does any of this sound like COVID-19?
No. Not catching a disease during a pandemic is not a major decision. It's actually pretty fucking pedestrian. But if you wanted to start a business from home, you could. If you wanted to start watching TV preachers till you were fucking blue in the face and change religions during it, you could. Well, what the fuck? What major? Holy shit. I can only think of a few things, major life decisions you couldn't do during lockdown, and most of them involve gender transition, asshole. Because you couldn't go to the hospital and it was considered elective, I guess. That's a pretty major one. What do you mean? No tattoos for 8 months until there was a vaccine? Or I guess at all if you're afraid of needles? Again, this is such horseshit.
Rewards and punishments are used to modify behaviors, both
Yes, it is.
positive and negative.
Well, it's all, even when it's negative, it's positive.
You can go to work if you're vaccinated. You cannot go to work.
Well, it's not a reward for getting the shot. It's the reward that you're now no longer, you can interact with other people. And if you do catch it, you're not going to end up in the hospital and take a bed of somebody who might be immune compromised or something like that. And if you got I guess technically the Johnson & Johnson one, you won't catch it again, more than likely because the mRNAs are slightly different than the standard vaccine, that kind of stuff. You can be out and about because now we don't have to worry about you, if you do catch it, ending up in the hospital and taking up valuable resources would be the thing. It's not necessarily, it's not a fucking cookie, dummy.
If you haven't.
Also, by the way, why is going to work a reward in that situation? I think most people were like a little frightened by how happy they were staying home.
Had the vaccine. Discourage individualism. You
are all different. I'm not. Shh. You mean like wearing all the same color hat and with like letters on the front of it that are steal a phrase from Ronald Reagan in 1980, or hashtag America First, which was a phrase that Nazis used to keep us out of World War II because they wanted to wait until all the Jews were dead before we jumped in.
Impose rigid rules and regulations, instill dependency and obedience.
Yeah, still no.
Deliberately withhold information. Distort information to make it more acceptable.
Distort? A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
Systematically lie.
Okay, well, that's the Glenn Beck program. This is so. Are you sure this isn't the Blaze's mission statement?
Number 12, minimize or discourage access to non-cult sources of information. Don't do your own homework.
Well, again, doing your own homework if you're in medical school is a great idea. And also, propaganda is not information. But please continue.
God forbid you're not doing your own homework, are you? Internet, TV, radio, books, articles, newspapers.
Also, you can do your own research, but you can't promote said research after you've done a glance of it and say, ivermectin will save you from COVID, if you're not a doctor and you don't know that that's true, and you might lead people into not taking proper care of themselves and doing this. That's why there's this whole like, these supplements have not been verified to cure or prevent any disease. That's why that's on the end of everything. And it shouldn't be just, it only applies to like supplement companies and medical businesses, largely because they're in the process of convincing people to do something. If you're saying that yourself and then someone takes your advice and they die from it, a caveat might do something. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm going to do this. Nobody got kicked off of Twitter for that.
Magazines, media, all critical information. Don't talk to anybody who disagrees with what the leadership says. So Shitter was shut down. And keep people so busy they don't have time to think or investigate.
I'm sorry. All right. Well, all right. Now we're done. Because I don't know if you know, but during COVID, people had a lot more free time than they're used to, stupid. Busy? Busy what? Binge watching TV shows and true crime? Busy. Fuck you, busy.
And control through cell phone with texting, calls, internet tracking.
Internet tracking. Oh, you mean like Mike Johnson does with his adopted son and their porn watching?
In a cult, information is tightly controlled.
Tight?
Members are discouraged or forbidden from doing homework outside of the cult.
Right. So MAGA. Right.
Critical thinking and questioning are not just discouraged, they're seen as signs of betrayal.
Right. Again, MAGA. Yeah. That's the way MAGA acts. Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yes. Sounds like the Blaze, Glenn.
Encourage
I would like to remind you that Glenn has access to a team of people at the Blaze. Like, they have multiple shows there, and he never has on guests that disagree with him fundamentally on anything. Ever. Not ever. Not one. Certainly not somebody like me. But I mean, not even like the baby aspirin version of me, like David Pakman or something, right? That again, that's why I think maybe he's talking about himself.
Spying on other members.
Yummy.
Extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda.
Oh, you mean like RT and the Tenet Media thing and right-wing radio and the Blaze and Daily Wire and, forming your own social media networks separate from the bigger ones like Parler and Getter and Truth Sinkhole.
Including newsletters, magazines, journals, audio tapes, videotapes, YouTube, movies, and other media. Require members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth.
Why are you looking around like that? Because you know Stu hasn't. Stu hasn't been doing his homework. Or he's been doing his own homework, if you know what I'm saying.
Think, if you're not an anti-racist, you are a racist.
No, I'm not. And again, marginal people in the thought space on college campuses are writing books about this, are not dictating the fucking Democratic Party's platform. That if, did you hear that said at the DNC, dum-dum? No. And if it was a cult, you would have.
And come to this program that we're now having in your office and internalize it. Say it. Live it.
No. I guess didn't happen. So am I supposed, you know what? Maybe it will. That's it. It is the end times after all. I've got to wait for the Antichrist has arisen and has arrived and he's just getting his bearings though.
Say it, preach it.
Like it, smack it, whip it, do it. All right.
Instill black and white thinking.
You mean about like what kind of jobs people do and who people are, what dangerous people coming into the country look like, crossing the border of a certain color versus flying into the country from Europe, let's say, or they sneak across from the Congo. Ooh, that's extra scary.
Decide between good and evil and
No.
organize people into us versus them.
Okay, again, MAGA.
The use of loaded language and cliches that constrict.
Like make America great again and America first and think about it and like no one's ever seen before and the greatest ever and I know the best words.
Knowledge. Stop critical thoughts and reduce complexities into buzzwords.
So, sorry, are you? I lost consciousness there. Are you implying that Donald Trump speaks in complete sentences?
Follow the science. He's a.
Also, follow the science wasn't. Yeah, but like. It's generic, like believe in science or I believe the science, or there's a lot of ways of saying it. It wasn't just. Also yelling, people yelling, lock her up, yelling USA when, Trump, I guess suddenly realizes that you can't spell USA without us, and he thinks it's fucking magic.
Existential threat to our democracy. Rejection of rational analysis, critical thinking, and constructive criticism.
Right, by you mean like not having people on your show that disagree with you ever or never going to a place where someone will disagree with you and speaking in those ways or I don't know, dodging people like me on Twitter and not responding to my criticisms, Glenn.
Forbid critical questions about the leadership.
So we shouldn't. So we can point out that Donald Trump is a sweaty, flatulent mess. We're allowed? Good.
Or policy. Labeling alternative belief systems.
All right, hold on. I'm done. I can only take so much Glenn Beck anyways, but I will say he was never going to achieve, escape velocity with that horse shit and he's effectively, my concern is, and I've had this happen before, is that I stick with him for one of those extended things where he's reading off a piece of paper and they pull to a wide shot. Stu has already left. There's nobody in the booth, and he's just waiting until the office in fucking Austin or wherever the fuck he is to throw to commercial, and he does like this. Yes, Glenn is a Hal Dodger. Glenn is afraid of me. Glenn will not let me come on the show. He won't answer any of my tweets on Shitter. I know he sees them. I know Stu sees them too. And I know they're afraid. And they should be. Okay, but the important thing is you're awesome and everybody knows it.